All right, let's dive right into this. We are going to try and solve a really big, and let's be honest, a really frustrating puzzle today. Why do so many smart, well-funded, and well-intentioned organizational transformations just fail? We're going to unpack the hidden physics behind why this keeps happening. And the scale of this problem is it's staggering. I mean, a recent report from Bain & Company found that a whopping 88% of these big change efforts failed to hit their original targets. Think about that. That is an unbelievable amount of wasted money, effort, and morale.
So, what is going on here? It's not like we don't have enough books or frameworks on this stuff. We've had them for decades. This is the central mystery we're really digging into. Something deeper, something structural, has to be at play. So let's put on our detective hats and see if we can figure this out together.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with this 88% mystery, then we'll debunk a really common myth about how change is supposed to work. After that, I'll introduce a new and, I think, powerful way to actually see the organization. From there, we'll uncover a really dangerous trap that snares most leaders, and then finally, we'll lay out a clear, actionable playbook to get out of it.
First things first, we need to clear away some old ideas. The first clue to solving this whole mystery is realizing that the way we've all been taught to think about change is, well, fundamentally wrong. And this slide just nails the disconnect perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the model we all see in presentations. Plan, align, execute. It looks so neat, so clean, so linear. But the reality, on the right, is what it actually feels like, a messy, chaotic wrestling match between all the short-term pressures and that long-term goal of actually getting better.
And here it is. This is the core idea. For years, we've been blaming people for not executing well enough when we should have been looking at the system itself. This kind of persistent failure isn't about people being bad at their jobs, it's about a system that is invisibly but powerfully structured to fail.
So, if that old straight-line model is broken, what do we replace it with? Let's check out a new framework that actually helps us see these hidden forces that are at play. This is where we can start to make sense of all that complexity.
To get our heads around this, let's start with a really simple analogy. Think of your company's real capabilities, its skills, its knowledge, as water filling up a bathtub. The faucet is all your improvement efforts. It fills up slowly, over time. But managers, they're often just staring at the pressure gauge, things like daily deadlines or monthly profits, which is just noise. It's not the actual water level.
Of course, the bathtub is just a simple way to think about it. The actual system, well, it looks a lot more like this. It's this insane web of 65 different variables, all interacting in 20 different feedback loops. Now, you are not meant to read this. The whole point is to show you that it's completely overwhelming. This is the machine that's running under the hood, and you can't manage it piece by piece. We need a simpler model.
And we can make sense of that crazy web by grouping all those variables into 3 domains that operate at totally different speeds. You've got the body, which is all about the fast, reactive, day-to-day operational stuff. Then there's the mind, which is the slow, steady accumulation of learning and new skills. And finally, the spirit, things like trust and belief, which acts like a throttle, controlling the speed of everything else. The friction happens because the body is always screaming for attention, and it just drowns out the quiet, important work of the mind. And this friction, this conflict between the fast body and the slow mind, it creates a really dangerous paradox. This is the heart of the mystery, right here. It's where perfectly logical, rational, and even defensible decisions end up actively sabotaging the entire transformation.
This slide illustrates that core conflict brilliantly. It's called the crowding out effect. On one side of the scale, you've got these heavy, urgent demands of the body: profit warnings, cost-cutting pressure, panic. On the other side, you've got the light, quiet, long-term work of the mind, building new capabilities, learning new things. The short-term body always feels heavier, so it steals resources from the long-term mind.
And this is the trap. When short-term performance takes a dip, the financially rational response is to cut costs, right? But where do those cuts almost always come from? The training budget, the improvement projects, the very things that feed the mind. So cost-cutting leads to resource theft, which leads to capability decline, which leads to, yep, you guessed it, even worse performance. It's a vicious downward spiral.
So really, success or failure comes down to which of these loops you allow to win. Over on the left, you see the failure loops, reacting to financials, pushing people to just work harder, piling on too many projects. But on the right, you see the success loops, reinvesting in your people, learning from mistakes, building trust. The entire game is about protecting the loops on the right from the loops on the left. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. We understand the system, we see the trap. Now, what do we actually do about it? How do we escape? Let's get into the practical, actionable playbook for leaders who really want to win this long game.
The first move in the playbook is a concept called strategic insulation. And this is a really powerful and sometimes kind of counterintuitive idea. It means you have to build a system to deliberately ignore some of those loud short-term signals in order to protect your long-term plan.
And this drawing just perfectly illustrates how it works. Think of all that market chaos and internal financial panic as just a bunch of noise. Strategic insulation is the shield that blocks that noise from jamming up the gears of your capability engine. It is a leader's job to hold that shield steady, no matter what.
But here's the crucial next step. Playing defense by just protecting the good long loops isn't enough to win. You also have to go on offense and actively weaken the destructive power of those short loops. You have to literally break the circuits that power the trap.
And here's exactly how you do it. 3 specific circuit-breaking actions. First, you have to break the link between a bad quarterly report and your improvement budget. Second, break that work harder trap by limiting overtime. This forces people to solve the real problems instead of just burning themselves out. And third, break the resistance trap by strictly limiting how many projects are active at once. Focus is everything.
So when you combine that insulation and the circuit breaking, this is what you get. You create 2 totally separate pools of resources. The red tank on the left is for daily operations. It's always going to be dealing with firefighting. But that green tank on the right, for improvement, it's ring-fenced. It has a lock on it. You cannot drain it to fight the daily fires. It's protected. So let's bring it all home. The old way of thinking, focusing on a linear sequence of steps, is a dead end. The real work of transformation is systemic protection. It's about building a fortress around your long-term, value-creating engine and defending it from all that short-term chaos.
In this final graph, this really shows you the payoff. That jagged gray line is the noisy chaos of the body, short-term performance going up and down. The smooth green line is the quiet, compounding momentum of the mind, your capability that's always growing. A leader's job is to provide the insulation to protect that green line, to buy it time until its compounding growth becomes so powerful that it just overtakes all that short-term noise. That point right there, that's the success threshold.
So we'll leave you with this one question to think about. Look at your own organization, your own team. Look at where the resources and the attention really go when the pressure is on. As a leader, are you consciously and deliberately protecting your long loops? Or are you, without even realizing it, feeding the very short loops that will doom your transformation to just become another one of those 88%?